What do you value most in life?
I value my independence and autonomy. For example, even just to attend this class today or make self care my priority. So I value that.
For now, I value my family, kids especially.
I'm not sure yet.
Confused between many things. किसको ज्यादा वैल्यू करना है? खुद को, बच्चों को, काम को, everything.
Yeah, first thing I value for my family.
I think the mental peace.
I value the contentment and happiness.
At different stages of life, I had different importance. Today, my main aim is mental health and physical health.
Being happy, peaceful, and healthy.
सब आ गया उसमें. So most of you answer right. So it's mostly our happiness is most important thing. Even if family troubles you or children trouble you, you don't like that. Even though you say that you value the family most, but it's actually, I would put it this way, our independence in the present moment, that is the most valuable thing. Independence in the present moment. Independence for living your life, or independence in your thought process, independence on how you feel, independence on the choices you make in the present moment is the most valuable thing in life. Because the moment somebody takes your independence and tells you what to do that you don't like, you feel squished. Sometimes you don't know how to tell that person. If the relationship is close, who you value also, if they try to squish your independence, we don't like it, do we? So our independence in the present moment is what we like the most. We value that most. That's very, very important. The Sahasrara Chakra is all about gaining that independence. How? Because when you know yourself truly, you get that independence from, they say, from the world, anything from the world. You're not dependent. So independence means what? You're not dependent on anything or anybody. No mental dependency. As most of you said, you value the mental peace. That mental independence comes from knowing our true self. Now, knowing our true self is something esoteric. We don't know. It's something unknown because we don't know. We are in the process. The methodology is given where? It's given in Bhagavad Gita through Karma Yoga. You must have known the types of karma. One is the Nitya Karma. What is Nitya Karma? Anybody?
The daily duties that you have to do.
Daily obligatory duties is Nitya Karma. Okay? What we are supposed to do everyday basis. So if somebody follows through the principles of Karma Yoga and is sthit in the Nitya Karma, that what I have to do, will reach that independence eventually. So that is the marg, that is the path given in Bhagavad Gita. Okay? Through the Karma Yoga path, because we cannot know or reach the unknown right away. We have to use this body, this mind, and certain methodologies to reach that point. So in that aspects, I want to talk about the 5 types of, it's called rin, but actually it's dharmic duties, you can say. Okay, something that is supposed to be done. They are divided 5 in categories. And if you follow that sincerely, okay, if everybody follows that sincerely, not only you will be happy and you'll be content in your life, your surroundings will also be very conducive for you. So first, they call it rin is Rishi rin. Rishi rin is, Rishis have given us this knowledge of self, isn't it? They have written so many books. So reading those scriptures, propagating this knowledge, understanding the knowledge is one of the Nitya Karma given for us in our scriptures. Rishi rin, as if you are indebted to them. Rin means debt. Okay, so we are indebted to this knowledge coming from so many generations. It has been preserved for us, this valuable knowledge of self and how to go towards the self and realize ourself. So it's almost our obligatory duty to study that. And before in Gurukuls, this was the study given. Apart from studies from all other subjects like physics, science, astronomy, this was an obligatory studies. But these days, that part is omitted. Okay, and the rest of the things, worldly knowledge is given. But since it's not done in schools today, it almost becomes our duty to impart that knowledge not to our own self, but also to our children or the next generation. That's Rishi rin. Okay, next is the Pitru rin. Pitru rin is duty towards our parents or ancestors, whatever traditions they have taught us. For example, if you know that turmeric is good for health, if you don't teach that to your child, that knowledge is gone. isn't it? Or you don't explain the rationale for it. Why do we use these things? So that knowledge transfer, unfortunately, hasn't happened over the generations because people either did not pay attention, they forgot, or they were under the rule of a different kind of culture for a long time. So many traditional knowledge has been lost. I was reading an article where there's so much of knowledge about this herbs found in the forest. It was so much ingrained in our culture, so only some tribals have that knowledge now. So I think the government of India is trying to preserve that knowledge through the tribal culture, like they are trying to get that information and preserve and make it into a document about all the different kinds of herbs and their therapeutic uses, which I also feel when it's gift from nature, right? Whatever our parents have taught us. So that is Pritru Rin, and also obligatory towards duty towards your parents. Very, very important to take care of them. Okay. Next Rin is called Dev Rin. Now, what is Dev? Dev is something. Devta word is also from the word Dev. Dev is something. Is root word is Div, to something that shines, to illuminate, something that gives us the power. Okay, shows us the path. So you can say it's about nature, like Surya Devta, Agni Devta, Vayu Devta. We call these Devtas the elements of nature. We don't call them Bhagwan. Okay? So there's a distinction. So when we pray to the sun, we are praying to the element or the Bhagwan through the sun. Sun itself is not a god or Bhagwan. Let's stop using the word God. It's Bhagwan or manifestation of Ishwar. So we have this Dev Rin. That means we should take care of the environment around us. That is also one of our obligatory duties. Like if you feel that somebody is polluting the river, polluting the water, polluting the air, you should feel that it's almost your duty to take care or get that things right. How much do we do that? How much do we use things in our life, in birthday parties or different things which pollute the environment? I went to a birthday party and they were using some kind of, I don't know what it was. I never used it, but they used to blast something, a lot of plastic pieces come out and spreads all over. I said, oh my God, what is this? Are we mindful of what we are using just for a momentarily entertainment? Like those metallic balloons, they're so hazard for the environment. Even balloons in general. Any plastic material using for a momentary pleasures in a birthday parties, weddings, it's all over. Plastic is like all over. So are we mindful of what we are using in our daily life that's polluting nature? Right from the things you put in your mouth, things that you apply on your body, your skin, to things that you use in your Namitya Karm, like occasional duties, occasional like these parties. How mindful are you? Start becoming mindful of the things that you use in a daily life and its impact on the environment. Okay? Then alone you can feel one with, only when you feel one with the environment, that environment is a part of me. Then you'll be more mindful and then stop putting pollutants into the nature. Okay? Some things are not under our control, but whatever is under our control, like we cannot control all the factories out there, but at least we can educate the next generation. So if your child becomes a factory owner, he or she will be more mindful of what kind of factory has to be there. You understand? It takes sometimes generation to start changing situations around us. Okay, so the next Rin we have, the depth we have is called Manushya Rin. What is Manushya Rin? Manushya Rin is our obligatory duties towards our fellow human beings who are less fortunate than us. Last time I was talking about people who are homeless or less fortunate than you. How are you? What are you doing in your daily life? Are you doing something for your fellow human beings or not? Or you're just carrying on your daily, going to work, coming back from the work, eating, drinking, sleeping. In your daily life, are you doing something, some kind of voluntary service, some kind of things for people who are less fortunate than you? If not, start thinking about that. Start teaching your children how to be compassionate towards people around you who are not so fortunate as you are. The whole purpose of life is to use our energy to follow all these rins, okay, the depths we have or our dharmic obligatory duties we have. And Manushya Rin is very, very important. Because remember, as I gave a drishtant before, drishtant means a visual metaphor. think that we are all going in a big spacecraft and we are all astronauts. So what happens when an astronaut falls sick in a spacecraft? He or she will use a lot of resources, first of all. That person has a role. That person will not be able to do that role properly because that person is sick. That astronaut is sick. So it's the duty of the other astronaut to make that person, the sick person, better as soon as possible, isn't it? Then only he'll start using less resources and start doing his or her own duties. Similarly, we are going in a big Earth. The Earth is a spacecraft. We are going in a space all the time. We don't even know where we are going. At least the spacecraft has a destination. We don't know where the Earth is going. It's just going. So expanding your vision to that big level, feeling one with entire humanity, or not even entire humanity, how you can help people around you, your friends, colleagues, your own family members, just by your own presence. What can you do? That's almost like finding your swadharma, your duty towards your fellow human beings. If you're not doing anything, start thinking about it. Maybe you're not able to find it right now, but eventually you will. And when you start working towards it, the satisfaction, joy, peace of mind, and the mental peace that comes with it, there's no other way out. You'll feel so blessed. And the last rin we all have, the debt or obligatory duty we have, is called bhoot rin. Bhoot rin is, it's not bhoot, some latakti atma, bhatakti atma. No, bhoot in Sanskrit means just beings. So any animal, birds, and plants. What is our duty towards these? I have a friend who's so caring about birds and animals that when it was too hot in July, she used to put a pot of water outside so that birds can come and drink it. So caring. So you also do that, Meenaji? Very good.
And my back here, always, I
Yeah.
have a big bird feeder
Mm-hmm.
and a big pot of water. Every time I'll buy from Costco, big bag.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've
it's
been
just
doing like many years. Yeah.
it's just little things what we can do. If you see an animal getting tortured or if you feel something about it, just preserving a plant and taking care of it, it feels so good. So what is your responsibility towards all the beings? So when you start living your life in such way, okay, that reaching towards your higher chakras is not difficult. If you follow all the principle while taking care of your own self, while doing your swadharma about your own body and mind. This all is a part of a nitya karma. Okay, our dharmic duties that has been laid down in our shastras by our rishis, all these 5 rins. So once you start living like that, then that day is not far that you'll reach Sahasrara Chakra one day. Any questions in that?
We have a group here in Montreal. We call it as a Montreal Seva. Like we have 30 people. Each one will cook some food once a month. Then we'll go and give it to the homeless people. Past 3 years we are doing.
You can find a way to help the community, even helping an old neighbor, putting out her or his garbage, or shoveling their snow, or clearing their driveway. Anything can be done, even small. You can think about it. Even just talking to a person why that person is not feeling that good. Anywhere, if you're going on a subway or something, if you feel that other person is feeling a little down, you can lend a helping hand if that person is ready to open up. Okay, so if you live your life in that way, that my life is dedicated to giving my energy to others in a positive way, the universe will bring you the opportunity. It will come to you, that opportunity, and the growth within you while doing this, following this dharma, this 5 what I mentioned, the growth will be magnificent. That much I can say. So if you are not able to find anything right now, keep working towards it. It's a journey, and universe will throw that opportunity on you because it knows that you're ready. You're ready to give out your energy. And once you start giving out your energy, that getting energy from the universe is not difficult. You just can't give out, you have to receive also. So that receiving becomes easy. Everywhere You know, it feels like there's a term called patrata. Have you heard of this term, patrata? Anybody knows what it means?
Patra is a vessel.
Yeah. What is patrata then, in terms of what I'm talking about? Anybody can guess? Any guesses? Just random guess.
Look, you can.
Begging bowl or something?
Begging, yeah, but patrata. Have not heard of this? Pradeep ji, what you were saying?
Sorry.
To receive something.
Yes, yes. You're coming closer.
The vessel
But
is
I'm
full,
finding
and we
it
don't
possible.
need anything more.
Yeah, yeah.
What you're eligible for.
Yes, Mathli ji, you're right. Adhikari. Adhikari. What is the 4 methods given for adhikari? What is it called? Both, what is that method called for adhikari? 4-fold method. Test time. Sadhan chatushtaya. So, more you do these obligatory duties, your adhikari bhav increases, like you're ready to receive. More you give, more you become that patra to receive the blessing. And then all these teachings come to you so that you can refine your practice. That both doesn't come to people who are spending more time outside or who are extracting things from the world. It comes from people when your energy shifts, that teachings. So you must have felt a change in your energy, your mental status, that you're ready to receive this knowledge. It's like a vicious cycle. More you do, more your energy you receive. That energy never gets depleted because it's a universal cosmic energy. It's Ishwar. Cosmic universal energy we call as Ishwar. Ishwar is the physical manifestation of Brahma. So I'm talking these technical terms. What is Brahma? Brahma is the ultimate, the truth, the Satya. Ishwar is the physical manifestation of the Brahma. And we pray to Ishwar only. We don't pray to Devta anymore. We don't pray to Agni Devta, Surya Devta. We only pray to Ishwar through the different images. What are the 3 forms of Ishwar given?
Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh.
Yes. Okay, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. And who is with Brahma? Which Devi?
Saraswati.
Why?
Vidya, knowledge, right?
Knowledge is required for creation. Who is with Vishnu?
Lakshmi.
Wealth is required for sustenance. Aishwarya is required for sustenance. And who is with Shiva? Mahesh?
Parvati.
The power to destroy all the negative forces within us. Symbolic. You can choose any image or the avatars of that images. That's also equally good. Whatever you can connect with. Last time we talked about Shiva and Shakti. Your vision changes. Shiva and Shakti merges together. Then your Agya Chakra opens up, so as to speak, third eye. That means your vision shifts. From the world, you come inward. This is more important, the growth here. I was talking to somebody and somebody was telling me, isn't self-care selfish? Appears to be selfish that you're always thinking about your own self. I said, no, it's not selfish. Why? Because you cannot take care of anybody unless you take care of yourself. You cannot correct others unless you are the stability inside yourself. So even if you have to change the world or do something for the world, you have to first focus within. First take care of your own self. Otherwise only frustration will come. Till your Agya Chakra opens. When Agya Chakra opens, you stop feeling the difference between the duality ends. You stop feeling the difference between different forces of nature, different people. You start feeling oneness at that point. Your vision shifts. It's all manifestation of me only. And then it's easier to reach the Sahasrara Chakra. Why are you going to your job? Why are you playing any role? Everything shifts. Then your ego totally surrenders. Even if somebody tells you something or gets angry, you will think that, oh, this person is really hurt. That's why that person is getting angry or upset. Because happy people don't get angry. They're not getting angry at you. They have anger inside them or some frustration. They're spilling their garbage on you. That's all. A mango tree can only give a mango at you when you shake it. Even if you throw stone, it can only give mango. So if you person who is getting angry, they have anger inside. That's why they're spilling their anger on you. Don't take it personally. It's not about creating boundaries. At that point, everything dissolves. When your Agya Chakra opens, you stop taking anything personally. Even if people come and get mad at you and tell you whatever, the worst thing possible in life, you stop taking it personally. Till that point happens, we are all blind to this, sort of. Before, only the ego plays with the ego, or heart get hurts or heavy. Unless Agya Chakra opens, we are all blind. And how this Agya Chakra will open? By all these practices and whatever the obligatory duties that I mentioned, by doing all those things over a long period of time. Abhyas and Vairagya. Vairagya in the sense, you don't have to keep worrying when my vision will change. It will happen when it is supposed to happen. Why do I still get disturbed? Well, the tendencies of the mind is not easy to get rid of. Don't keep thinking or asking about these questions. I still get disturbed. Damn, It's okay. Work with further intensity. It's okay. I need to work more. The last time I gave an example, if somebody does never smoke, got a lung cancer, if they get frustrated, stop doing all the pranayam, and then they haven't learned anything. In fact, they should say that, oh my God, I was just doing Kapalbhati for 10 minutes. Let me do for 1 hour now. That means you have that grit to keep going in your spiritual journey, no matter what obstacles come, because you have understood this is the only path for my freedom, peace of mind, mental stability. There's no way out. Till you get that, before that, we're all blind. We get affected. It's okay. But the prayer should be always for that towards that Ishwar that give me, open my eyes, show me the truth. That should be the only prayer you should be having. Give me the strength to keep going. Any questions in that?
No questions, but lots of takeaways. I am on the right path.
Absolutely sure, right, Gayatri?
Yes.
What is the difference between Bhagwan or Ishwar? Devta and Ishwar.
Okay, Bhagwan is a technical term, is equivalent to Ishwar, but Bhagwan, we can give that upadhi, that term, to any human being also who comes to that stature. For example, Ramakrishna, Paramhans, or Ramana Maharshi, we call them Bhagwan also. Bhagwan is a technical term I explained in Bhagavad Gita class. Bha se bhumi, ga se gagan, va se vayu, a se agni, va और a मिला के अग्नि, नी से नीर. So जो इन सबका स्वामी होता है, those who are in control of this, okay, all the physical, which can also mean they are in control of their physical body and the mental body. It's a technical term. So भगवान का definition है ऐसा.
और ईश्वर and देवता?
ईश्वर तो वो 3 ईश्वर हैं. ईश्वर is a physical manifestation what we represent ब्रह्म.
ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश.
या ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश. ब्रह्म और आत्मा एक सत्य है, जैसे स्पेस जैसा है. It's all pervading and we are that as per our rishis. We are subtler than that space. तो ब्रह्म अलग वर्ड है, वो टेक्निकल टर्म है. ओके, उसको पुरुष भी बोलते हैं सांख्य फिलॉसफी में. शिवा भी बोल सकते हैं, शिवा एंड शक्ति. बट उसका फिजिकल मैनिफेस्टेशन जिनको हम प्रे करते हैं वो है ब्रह्मा जी, विष्णु एंड महेश, शिवा. ओके, वो 3 फिजिकल मैनिफेस्टेशन है. क्रिएटर, सस्टेनर एंड डिस्ट्रॉयर, ऐसे हम समझ सकते हैं. बहुत लोग इसको इंग्लिश में भी जो गॉड बोलते हैं उनको बोलते हैं ना जनरेटर, ऑपरेटर, डिस्ट्रॉयर. ईश्वर वही फिजिकल मैनिफेस्टेशन ऑफ दैट आत्मा. ब्रह्म इज ईश्वर. तो ये तीनों ईश्वर हैं जो ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश हैं. उनको भगवान भी बोलते हैं, बट भगवान हम किसी ह्यूमन बीइंग को भी वो स्टेटस दे सकते हैं भगवान का.
ईश्वर and देवता is the same thing.
No, Devta is a physical like nature. वायु देवता, अग्नि देवता. और वो देवता हमारे सेंसेस को भी बोलते हैं. अगर तत्वबोध में आप आगे पढ़ेंगे, you'll study that. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल सूर्य is the देवता for eyes, because अगर प्रकाश नहीं रहेगा we won't be able to see. उसी तरह water is the देवता for taste, tongue, because अगर कोई चीज में वाटर तत्व नहीं है, रस नहीं है, तो आप उसको टेस्ट नहीं कर सकते. एक पत्थर को टेस्ट नहीं कर सकते. आपका सलाइवा भी नहीं रहेगा तो आप टेस्ट नहीं कर सकते. सो एक एक सेंसेस को एक एक देवता दिया गया है, असाइन किया गया है, सो सॉर्ट ऑफ, बिकॉज देवता मतलब होता है दैट इल्यूमिनेट. सो सेंसेस आपको इल्यूमिनेट करते हैं. दे हेल्प यू नो द सराउंडिंग. ज्ञान इंद्रिया बोलते हैं ना, आप बाहर से ज्ञान लेते हैं तो उसको देवता भी बोलते हैं. सेंसेस को भी देवता बोलते हैं. सूर्य देवता, वायु देवता है, जिनसे हम सस्टेन होते हैं ना, हमारा लाइफ जो सस्टेन होता है, प्राण हमारा, उसको भी देवता बोलते हैं. This is a technical term. You'll learn as we progress in our Tattva Bodh studies. It's very interesting actually. It gets a little complicated in between. कभी-कभी समझ नहीं आता, but you have to keep reviewing and revising. Like listen to it again and again. See, everything has a feminine and a masculine energy. ये हमने हमारे ऋषियों ने पहले ही समझ लिया था. मैस्कुलिन एनर्जी इज प्रोवाइडिंग द बेस. जैसे हम मूलाधार चक्र बोलते हैं ना, चक्र का एक बेस होता है ना, एक आधार चाहिए उसको. दैट आधार इज द शिव तत्व, एंड that energy that rotates around it, it's the Shakti Tattva. You have to understand it this way. So we have a Tattva, we have a base. Like when you think of creating something, you have to become first stable, think about it, and then you have to, that मैंने समझाया था ना, Kriya Shakti. Then you have to have something that is moving to create that particular thing. That's why every Ishwar, form of Ishwar, is given a masculine form and a feminine form. है सारा same ही. अब इस समझने का तरीका है. एक particular level पे ये सब dissolve हो जाता है, feminine, masculine. Doesn't really matter. पार्वती के ही रूप हैं सारे, दुर्गा जी भी बोलते हैं, इसलिए शक्ति उनको बोला गया है. उनसे सब मैनिफेस्ट होते हैं. सो ये सब बस समझने का तरीका है, ठीक है. अपने अंदर ही वो जागृत करना है, so to speak. Then only your vision will shift, change, so that anything that you're doing is a combination of Shiva and Shakti, but everything is within you. Like you can manifest things, you can generate things, you can maintain things. Everything is within you. You have that creative capacity within you, and you can also, you alone can destroy your own negativity. Nobody else will do that for you. So you have to generate, you have to sort of embody all the 3 forms of Ishwar within you. Okay. और मैंने पिछले बार समझाया था कि we are very physical beings. We need physical murti or pratima to connect with that energy, because it's very difficult to meditate upon a formless You cannot just meditate on Atma. Atma what? We don't know. What is Atma? What is self? We don't know what is self. These are all like hi-fi words if you come down to a practical level, isn't it? But everything is to clear the mind, to meditate, to focus. Because हमारे ऋषियों ने बोला भगवान को जानो. ऐसे नहीं बोला कि बस मानो विश्वास करो. No. But you cannot trust anybody unless you know that person, isn't it? At least I cannot. I have to know the person before I can trust that person for anything. So भगवान पे भी trust लाने के लिए you need to connect with भगवान first. You need to know भगवान और ईश्वर what that is. एक बार वो विश्वास जागृत होगा तभी श्रद्धा आएगी. श्रद्धा हमने पढ़ा था ना, विश्वास on Guru and Vedant. So unless you know your Guru, unless you know the teachings, वो श्रद्धा विश्वास कहाँ से आएगा? It starts with that. It's a very important factor. And then when you get all these teachings, your awareness starts increasing gradually up. Before that, we are all blind, so to speak, for our spiritual growth. Do we have any more questions?
When we grew up, our parents always said, but God is there. We pray, we light lamp, diya and all. But our children born and brought up here, they don't believe. They always say, Mom, you do. But, like it's so difficult to,
Because the education system is not like that, and children have become very rational. Unless you explain the meaning of it from very little childhood and allow them to ask questions and you answer their questions and explain the meaning of everything, then they will have Shraddha. Otherwise, it's all esoteric, like what is this nonsense, going on?
Yeah, anything I will ask them to wear for anything good. They don't. No, Ma.
We are growing in a different surrounding, but here it's a different surrounding. So that's why from childhood you have to bring up kids in such an environment where these things are natural for them. Also not natural, but also explaining them in a scientific way, because mind has become very scientific, very rational. These children are very intelligent. Are very
Believe
inquisitive.
on God.
So you don't have to tell them to believe in God. I never tell my kids believe in God or believe in whatever I say. I tell them to have an
Yeah,
inquiry,
that's true.
ask questions. So last Navratri, what I did, first I did my own research and then I explained the manifestation of each Devi. Each day we used to come and sit in front of our puja room. I used to explain them one. When we came to third Devi, I don't remember which one, but then I was explaining the story behind it. Then my daughter said, my God, this is like story of the Big Bang Theory, because it was something like that. When I didn't know, she related that to it. So once you explain them the logic, the science behind it, because our kids will ask questions. And it's only our kids will ask questions. Rest, anybody, I've seen other religion, they don't need to explain. Their kids just follow somehow. But because our mind is a very inquiry mind from the culture we belong to, we always ask questions. Even Bhagwan will come down, will ask questions. Who are you? It's a double-edged sword. So it's good that we don't just trust anything. We don't go into a blind belief system, which is also good. But then we have to work very hard for the next generation. That's where your Rishi Rin comes. Like you have to study these things yourself, get the first-hand knowledge, and then pass on to the next generation. That's one of your obligated duties. So how much you are engaged in your studies, you'll have that much effect on your children. As simple as that. Gurindaji, you had your next question.
What is that supreme power that make all this? Even Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh.
Atma or Satya or Brahma. That's the technical term. It is the underlying reality of each and every thing in the universe. It's like, I consider it like a space. Space is all pervading. It's inside you, outside you, inside your cells, inside your food. Space is there everywhere, isn't it? So our rishis discovered there's something subtler than the space. Space is also an element which is called Brahma, and that is the underlying reality for everything. For example, if you look at a wooden table, what is the underlying reality of that table? What is the adhishtan of that table? Adhishtan matlab wo kis pe adharit hai, a wooden table. It is on the wood. Wood pe, hai na? Wooden table without wood cannot exist independently. Can it? So wooden table is a naam and roop. It's a form. Wood is the underlying reality of that wooden table. Correct? Which has come from the tree. Same as the gold and the gold chain. Gold is the underlying reality for whether chain you're wearing, whether a ring you're wearing, whether a necklace or whether a bangle you're wearing. What is the underlying reality of that gold jewelry? It's the gold itself. So even if you melt the jewelry, the gold still remains, isn't it? It doesn't get destroyed. But the bangle has got destroyed, the necklace has got destroyed. So the naam and roop will always get destroyed. It's a temporary, it's anitya. But that gold, that is nitya. So similarly, our rishis discovered that underlying principle, the tattva, it's also called tattva, the essence. It's not a person sitting up in the heaven. It's the tattva in each one of us. That underlying tattva, they called it Brahma. They called it Atma or Paramatma. In Bhagavad Gita, there's a shlok, Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarvabhuta Shya Sthitah. That means, Arjun, I am that Atma that is situated, that sthit in each and every Sarvabhuta. That means animal, birds, plants also. That essence, that tattva, because as scientists discover, they go inside the cells, they discover these atoms, neutrons, and subatomic particles, neutrino, protino, I don't know what all they have discovered, right? They're still going inside, they're not able to find that God particle. They may find one day, but they may not through scientific means, only by self-inquiry, because what they're looking for is inside also. That tattva, essence, is inside all the bhutas, like all beings. That is the Brahma tattva, the creator, manifester, and destroyer. So that is why they said there's no difference between you and the other being. So when somebody asked Ramana Maharshi why we should be good to others, his simple answer was because there's no other. Everybody is your own manifestation. Till you realize that, you're blind. So we'll just end with a small bhajan. I have taken 6 lines from a bhajan. You can just close your eyes. And this is just to raise our awareness and pray to Bhagavan, that Ishwar. We can only pray to that Ishwar. We cannot pray to that Brahma, because we are Brahma ourselves. How can we pray to the formless? We don't know it. So we can pray to any Ishwar in any form. Please give us that eyes to understand you, to see you, sort of. So just close your eyes. Nainhin ko राह दिखा प्रभु, नैनहीन को राह दिखा प्रभु, पग पग ठोकर खाऊं मैं, पग पग ठोकर खाऊं मैं, नैनहीन को राह दिखा प्रभु, चालत चालत गिर जाऊं मैं, चालत चालत गिर जाऊं मैं, नैनहीन को राह दिखा प्रभु, नैनहीन को राह दिखा प्रभु, मन का दीप जलाऊं मैं, मन का दीप जलाऊं मैं, नैनहीन को राह दिखा प्रभु, नैनहीन को राह दिखा प्रभु, नैनहीन को राह दिखा प्रभु. Take a moment to focus on your Agya Chakra and above it. Feel that oneness in the deep dark space within yourself. Thank you so much for your presence.